Hi, I'm Linda Deir, the author of Guided. Her spirit guide angels were her best friends and life coaches. Guided is my true life story and winner of the 2017 International Body, Mind, Spirit Book Award. Since before I was 2 years old, I've seen, communicated with, and even photographed my spirit guide angels. In Guided, I use my own life as a template to teach you what I learned from these loving, intelligent spirits. Most importantly, I show you how to make the connection to your own spirit guides and angels so you can live a guided life, a life free of fear and doubt, the life you intended to live before you got here. This week in my guided journey, part 2, page 11, I'm going to talk about separation, when you felt really sad and alone. I will take you back to the time in your young life when you felt a deep separation. You were told what to do and how to think. You were expected to act a certain way and believe the things everyone else did. You did what it took to fit in, be liked and accepted, forgetting who you were and why you are here. You vaguely remembered our time together. So let's get started. Having gone through your rebellion stage when you felt an even deeper void and separation from us, you were now compromising by trying to fit in and complying. You were no longer standing your ground. This made you feel unsure of yourself because you actually sacrificed who you really were in favor of going along with the status quo. This decision made you really nervous and unsure of yourself. You not only forgot who you were, you forgot us. No matter how much you tried, you still did not completely fit in. You wanted to be like everyone else. You did everything just like you were told to do so you could get those good grades and popular friends. But no matter how well you performed or how nice you were, the kids still challenged you. You weren't liked by everyone, and you didn't always get great grades. The kids you wanted to like you already had their friends, and you weren't one of them. Perplexed, you hung out with the kids who liked you and not the ones you wanted as friends. This was actually the right decision. However, that decision would forever label you like the kids you hung out with. The kids who wanted to be your friends may not have been the popular kids, but they were more like you at that time in your life. Experiencing this, you were disappointed because you wanted to be liked by everyone. After all, this is why you compromised so much to get this, giving up what we had. You became a joke to the kids you wanted to like you. This is what made you feel really sad and alone. You wanted what you couldn't have. You were embarrassed because you were rejected, and that made you feel foolish because the only friends who wanted to be your friends weren't the ones you wanted. This would set the stage for your entire life. Would you always want what you couldn't have? Or would you see the wisdom in appreciating what it is you do have? What you wanted were not real friends. They were socialites who were status-driven. Only later in your life would you realize how unfulfilling that would have been. But at this point in your life, you were just confused. You were missing your connection to us more than ever. The void you felt inside yourself was what you were trying to fill, and you confused it with chasing superficial desires. Ever since you pushed us away, you expected to replace our friendship that made you feel loved and accepted as effortlessly as you found us. In other words, you expected that what we had could be found in this world without much effort at all. That was a big shocker. How could something that came so easy be so hard to find in this world? This is another one of those moments in your life that you would reflect upon as you moved through the coming years. You would learn that love finds you and not the other way around. You would experience many identity crises, attempting to bring you back to clarity. At this sad and confusing time in your life, you would have the opportunity to recognize your ego-driven desires and appreciate the friends who wanted to be your friends. However, no friendship would ever match the friendship we had. So that's where we are today, and Ray...
That is sad, isn't it?
I know. That's a tough time for the kids and for us when we were growing up. And the whole point to doing each one of these in part 2 of My Guided Journey, which is the companion journal to Guided, okay, my flagship book. And the readers of Guided had so many questions about, through coaching sessions and fan mail and all that, about how they do this, how they got off track, where they start, and that's what generated My Guided Journey. And this is available on my website, lindadeir.com, as a free download right there on the home page. So look for it, My Guided Journey, and click free download. It'll take you to the page where you sign up and get it, okay? That's what we're talking about today, and we're on page 11. Go ahead, Ray.
Page 11 of 18.
Of 18, yes.
Okay, so this desire to chase superficial things really starts with the separation from your guides. Is that right?
It does.
About what time?
It's a separation from your guidance, but it's a separation from the world you came from where you came from, Ray. So it's all like in one package. They all came from that same place where you came from before you were born into this world. The big plan that you guys all put together to guide you through this life. And the whole reason you came here, the intention you had when you came here about what it is you intended to accomplish this time around. So that's basically pushed it all away, okay? You can't really throw it away because it's always there. It's always that gnawing urge inside of you. And it really will, it's relentless. It will never leave you alone. But the beauty of it is when you connect with it, when you really connect with it and you pull it back in and you start living in both worlds, it's not relentless anymore. It's there on your journey as you're living your life and exploring what you came here to do. You're more conscious. You step into it easier. You don't resist it, okay? As opposed to pushing it away and trying to keep it pushed away and do things the way you were told to do them and just trying to live in one world, you know? It's like dragging a leg. Yeah.
So this separation comes right on the heels of the rebellion part we talked about last week.
Right.
You know, you get to those stages in your life when you're a toddler, and then when you go to school and you rebel against teachers and your parents telling you what to do and how to think, and then all of a sudden you have to find a way to fit in. So what are some of the ways that maybe you experienced in school or the average person experiences when they get to school that makes them feel like this separation?
Well, it happens when for me, I can only speak from my own experience, and it's in my book, Guided. I talk about it. I really do tell I tell. I didn't. I was very candid when I wrote the book. I remember when I was in, I guess it was the second grade, and the kids they were all doing something that everybody was getting kudos from the teacher. And so the girls were acting kind of coy. This was in the 50s. They were acting coy, and they were kind of pretending like they didn't have the answers, and they let the boys answer the question. And the boys were smart. You know, they were supposed to be, they like enhanced the boys' ego about how they felt really smart by being quiet. Okay, the girls were kind of quiet. And I thought, you know, I'm not like that. I'd answer the question, or I'd just say what I thought. And the kids would all look at me like, why don't you shut up? You're obnoxious. You know, I couldn't believe how the boys could do it, but that wasn't okay for the girls to do. So one day I decided, okay, maybe I'm getting this wrong. Because I was always experimenting with things and trying things, but I never told anybody what I was doing. But I would try these things out. So this one day at school, I said, I'm going to go ahead and try out what it feels like to be like the other girls and keep my mouth shut and be coy and you know, just let's play this thing out. And I remember doing that, and I remembered what it felt like to do that, and how I felt knowing that's how the other girls felt when they bought into this and they behaved that way. And what I felt was, I felt like nothing. I felt insignificant. I felt not in my power. I felt I felt it felt awful. I felt it was depressing. It felt like something I knew I couldn't do this. It was not who I was. So in my case, I just had to live with the consequences of knowing an answer, putting my hand up, answering it, not worrying about the other girls behaving a certain way and them looking at me like I didn't get it. I got a lot of that in school, you guys, where they thought I didn't get it. And I was glad, looking back on it, I'm real glad I didn't get it, because I didn't become coy, and I didn't learn to keep my mouth shut, and I didn't learn to repress myself and go along with the status quo just so I would be maybe not even liked, but maybe just accepted, maybe just that, right? Crumbs. It just didn't work for me. So I was who I was. And then when I experienced the consequences of being called stupid and shut up and you're obnoxious and you don't get it and on and on and on, I was okay with it, because I felt what it felt like to comply and do what the other girls were doing, and I just couldn't do it. So I was okay with consequences when I realized there were consequences anyway. There were consequences in going along with the crowd, or consequences for you being who you are, right? So I was just okay with that. That's how I learned that, by the way. In one day, I learned that. No, in one afternoon. It didn't take me very long to learn that, because it was so obvious how wrong it felt. So that was just one of those times in my life that I experienced it. And so when these girls progressively got more and more like angry inside, I understood why they felt like that, because I actually trialed it out for an afternoon, you know, in a class. And then I just realized it wasn't for me. That's how we learned when we were kids.
Well, I know what I felt. One thing I remember in grade school, when this whole separation thing started, where you wanted to do this and they didn't want you, when you didn't get picked for the team, when they were picking sides for the team, you know.
Like for what team?
For on the playground, like playing baseball or playing kickball, or,
yeah,
you know.
And who did the picking, Ray?
Well, the captain of the team, the most popular kids, you know, the two
Right.
most popular kids picked their team.
It's
And-
politics, even as kids, you
Right.
guys.
And,
Right.
and you either didn't get picked or you got picked last.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of sets the stage for when you go on later in life.
It does.
When you want something, you want to be on a team, you want to be accepted, you want to be part of the pack, and they just pass you by. I mean, that's what triggers those old elementary school hurts.
It does. Right. And the whole point to my guided journey, you guys, the whole point to writing Guided and then which generated my guided journey, is to walk you back through those times in your life, the early times in your life. Separation is the one we're on today, page 11, part 2, and reconnect with what happened back there. Where did we get? I paid a price for the decision I made. They made fun of me, and it did change the way I felt about being around people for the rest of my life, because if I had to cave in and give in to some popularity contest like Ray just talked about, or I had to do something that was politically required for me to have a place in that arena, I just I've never really cared about it. It never really attracted me. And it's just, it guided me to take the path I did in my life, where I didn't need, for example, I didn't need approval. I didn't need to be accepted. I knew what I wanted to do, and I didn't run it by anybody else. I really didn't. And I just go out and do it. So you might say they didn't see me coming, or they didn't expect that out of me. And I would have to say that in my life, that's been a big one. I'd say that most people just didn't expect that out of me. Just like they didn't expect that out of me when I was a kid. I was definitely not the norm. But as I grew up, because they didn't expect it out of me, it's almost like I slipped in, was able to do this stuff because they really didn't think anything about me. They never thought I would do it. They never thought anything about me they never even thought about me, let alone me doing whatever it was I was. Like real estate and architecture and everything I got into in my late teens, early 20s, that I was really at a disadvantage to have all those opportunities. Yet I had them all because I felt like I could do it, and I didn't feel like anything could stop me, and I was guided to do it. All right. So it was an urge that drew me into it, just like everything else did. So I didn't let what the politics were or what somebody would think about me or say about me, which applies to your entire life, right, affect my choices. That's where this is at. If you go back and if any of that's affecting your choices, or somebody's trying to hold you back and you don't know why you can't seem to get out from underneath their thumb, or something you want to do and you can't seem to figure out how to go about getting it, going back to where you first got bumped around, all right, and writing it in here. This is why we're covering this topic today. One of 18. There's 18 of these. This is number 11. And how you get back around to finding out, unearthing what that was, so you can identify it, and then, see what that was, so you can, now that you're an adult, you've got the power over it. You can say, oh, I could see how I did that, and I could see how it followed me to this day. That's the whole point to doing this.
Okay, so a couple distinctions here. This elementary school time and junior high time and going into high school kind of sets the stage for the rest of your life. If you're one of those kids who didn't get picked for the team, they weren't an athlete or maybe a great student, the average kid.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
They weren't popular with the cliques that went on in the school, right? But those are the ones who grow up always wanting what they believe they can't have.
They want what they believe because, okay, are you done?
Well, you were different.
Okay.
You never wanted something. You never wanted something that you thought you couldn't have.
I never wanted something that I thought I couldn't have.
If you wanted it, you got it.
I did. In other words, I never thought about, could I have it or not? That never crossed my mind. So these kids, they thought about, at the beginning, this kid that we talked about today, they just automatically thought they could be one of the popular kids.
Right.
Okay. But they didn't realize who those kids were. They didn't realize the consequences of going down that road. And they were actually saved from it because those kids, those popular kids, were rejected that kid, okay, which is in most cases, okay. And when they were rejected, it gave them time to reflect on exactly why they wanted that in the first place. It was the first time they had the opportunity to examine why they wanted something that not only they couldn't have, but something that wasn't right for them, all right? I didn't pick things that weren't right for me. I picked things that were right for me. And then if the kids laughed at me or made fun of me or whatever it was, or I got kicked out of school for it, I still did not let that affect me. I still did it, okay? Like the kids in school. In Guided, I talk about how the bullies picked on the kids, right? And I couldn't stand watching that happen. So I'd get in a fight with the bullies and we'd have it out. And so was I liked by the kids for doing that? Not at all. I was considered a hellraiser, really, because I would fight. But it was always a fight in defense of some kid getting picked on because this bully was relentless and would not stop, all right? So I did things that I never thought about it. I just had, it's like that urge. Again, being connected, having this connection, okay? Having it my whole life, never losing it, always having it. I was sure of myself. You're sure of yourself. You're not living in doubt. You're not questioning yourself all the time. And the reason you would question yourself is because half of you is missing. You're just in this world, you poor thing. You're lonely. You're lost. Is this all there is? You mean I'm here and this is it? You're lost. You've left half of you behind. So I didn't do that. So I was still in one piece, you guys. And so no matter what they did here, I kind of took it with a grain of salt because I knew more. Because I had more. I didn't give myself up over here. That's why.
I think everybody, regardless of their age, would like to be accepted for who they are and not have to pretend to be somebody else or strive to be somebody else. But society doesn't let them do that. In their quest to get people to accept them as they are, they chase all these superficial things in life, especially as they get older, when they have money power, when they have buying power. They think if they could buy this and they could buy that and they could get this and they could get that, people would like them more.
So you can buy your way to the top.
Well, maybe that's what they think.
Okay, and it's not the top. See,
they can't be accepted for who they are, so they believe that if they have all these other things, they'll be somebody different.
Okay, first of all, if we're chasing things like this, you guys, then we're missing who we are. We're not enjoying what we are, what we have to share and give and offer the world and be our best at that, right? There's always going to be something else out there that someone else is doing, and you might even look at it and go, that's interesting. I mean, I could see how that makes sense. I like that. But it wouldn't fit you to do it. It's not you. It's not who you are, okay? But it doesn't mean you don't appreciate it. But to chase it is to reach out like the little kid, almost unwittingly the little kid in you that maybe chased it the first time, but didn't know that's what you were doing. You just thought, well, you know, that looks the best, like it's got the best possibilities, so I'm going to go there, okay? And then you find out the consequences of going there and what these people are really like, and you go, well, you know, that was never a fit for me. And I'm just, at that point, you pull back and go, so what is a fit for me? If you keep looking out there, you're never going to find it. You've got to recall what happened in that early part of your life. That's what part 2 does, page 1 through 18, that we're talking about number 11 today. And that's what this does. It takes you back so that you can, it's putting yourself back together again. You got to see where you took the blows, where you took the damage originally happened, where you misinterpreted something, where you were shy or insecure. Identify it, write it in here, and keep the story going. We'll be on page 12 next Thursday. And figure out just exactly who this kid was that got bumped around and wasn't sure of themselves, and how that all played out. So then you could go back to the beginning when we're done with this series. page 1 through 18. It'll be in November by the time we're done with all this. We're going to walk back through with some of you that are brave enough to step up. And we're going to walk back through tying your page 1 through 18, stepping through each one and working through it and walking back through it with you to help you put your life back together again. But you've got to honestly write it into this journal the way it happened, not from a victim's point of view, not from how you remember it happened, but what really actually happened. All right. And if you were to not take it personally and objectively look at it, that's what you need to write into the journal. And that's the only way to get down to the bottom of this. And the whole point to it is to put you in a position where you can then identify what it is, play it back out again, discover who you really are, and from that, make better decisions and come from yourself. Quit looking outside of yourself to find it, because it's not out there. It's in here. It's just that early life bumped you around a little bit, and it trailed you. It kind of kept you moving down that same path, and you didn't really know how to correct it. So this is the point to this.
I liked what you said in the early part. Would you always want what you couldn't have? Because you were setting the stage for it when you were younger.
Yes, you would. I'm going to just stop you right there. You would always want what you couldn't have until you identified when you first made that decision. So you could see it, you could write it in here, identify it, write it in here, and then go back through and go, okay, now I see where I got knocked off my path. I see it.
And the second part of that was, would you always want what you couldn't have, or would you see the wisdom in appreciating what it is you do have? Do you ever get to a point where you believe you have enough and appreciate what
that's
you have?
Really, okay, what Ray's talking about, that's real healing. That's the real healing. When you can do that, when you can accomplish that, that's what this is about. When you actually write in here what really happened, and then we help you walk back through it again, that is when you heal it. And when you heal it, what do you think happens next, Ray?
Well, I think you become more content, and gratitude happens at that point. But that seems to happen probably 1 or 2 times later in life, where you've chased all these superficial things. And you need another one of these, you need another house and 3 more cars, and new clothes and this and that. And you get to a point, well, you either think, well, I have enough. And I think that's kind of rare. That would come along someplace later in life. Because if you keep making more money to buy more things, you're never going to stop. Or the other time it happens, it's forced on you when you lose everything. And you look at what you have left.
That is true. That is true. And that is, you have no choice but to look at what you do have left. Because after all, that's all you have left, right? Okay, so you hope that you don't have to get to that point. Those are some very rough bumps in life, you guys. That's taken some real hard hits. You can avoid it. You can get real with yourself. You can write it. You can remember where you were, what happened, and how it played out in your early life when you really didn't understand yet, all right? And you didn't know that you had, all this going for you. You thought you were just here, and that you basically were on your own. And that's what you thought. And no wonder you got scared. No wonder you made some decisions that came out of lack like that. And you didn't feel good enough or pretty enough or smart enough or something enough, all right? And working through this journal, it helps you identify what it was, so you realize that where you were at that time when you made that decision, that it was life-changing. It put you on a path that without you even realizing it, it was like a snowball effect. It had a hold of you, okay? And it's not something you could even help. You couldn't stop it. It was just, it had a life of its own before you knew it. This is where you identify it, you look it in the eye, you objectively see what it was, like you should have done when you were a kid if you had the right guidance around you, right? like I had. I had my guides. That's how I learned to not take things personally. That's how I learned to appreciate this above and beyond everything that was going on out there. And some people misinterpret me. They think, well, who do you think you are?
You make it look so easy.
Oh, I've been, in my book, Guided, you'll hear about and read about where people took a real issue with me, okay? Who do I think I am? I guess they thought I should suffer like they did, like I should be like them. But I just never bought into that. I had my own suffering. I suffered. I went through my own stuff that was painful and sad, okay? But I was never alone. Never. And I was never without the ability to figure things out and get what I wanted, and always get what I wanted. Now, people that watched me, like Ray just said, they would say, but you made it look so easy. It's not fair. You have all this energy. It's not fair. And all kinds of excuses. And there were consequences. I had people attack me for that. I didn't have a problem with that. I wasn't doing anything to them. I didn't do anything to take anything away from them. I didn't do it to them. I was just living my life, and they were comparing their life to mine. When you're not living your bliss and you're not following your urge and living the life you intended before you got here and going with the flow, when you're not doing that, you're going to watch other people who are, and you're going to be angry about that because you're missing yours. You missed something. That's what this is designed to do. It's designed to wake it back up again, all right?
And that's the difference between the two books. Guided uses your life as an example to show people what it's like to live like that.
Yeah, to make...
And everybody came in with it.
That's right, Ray.
And somewhere along the line, they lost it. They got separated from it.
Or they missed it.
They missed it. They got separated from it. Societal pressures, parental pressures.
Right.
First you rebelled, then you conformed, and then you lost it.
Right, that's right.
And the journal helps you figure out, step by step, going backwards back to when you were a new person, how to recover it.
That's exactly right. And the only reason I can write both of these, is because I lived it. And I lived it quietly. I lived it in my own silent place inside. I never told anybody what was going on in my life. I would never, ever share. In fact, I didn't even write and publish this until I was 60 years old. Did I tell my story, all right?
Okay, I see another strange coincidence here. The people who early on learn that they want what they can't have carry that right into, it's especially prominent in relationships as they grow older, as they grow up. Relationships in high school.
That's really true.
College. How does that, you always want what you can't have, affect finding a good relationship?
What it does is if you insist on having it, even though it's not right for you, if you want something that you can't have, then it's not yours. So if you're chasing something that you can't have, that you insist on having anyway, then that's why you feel like that, right? It's a relentless cycle of chasing something that isn't even right for you.
Right. You said in the first part, you'll eventually learn that love finds you and not the other way around.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. But see, when love finds you, here's the interesting thing about that. Just like the little kid, when I was talking in the early part of this, where the kid wanted the popular friends and didn't want the friends who wanted to be their friend, all right? Which was more of a fit at that time in their life. But they rejected it because they wanted, their ego was starting to play into their life. And they wanted popular friends. They wanted to be popular like those people, right? So that's what they were chasing. So if you're chasing a relationship, the one that you can't seem to get, it's because you're not the person that it takes to have that relationship. Now, that might be a good thing, because you might be trying to chase something that it wouldn't be good for you, all right? That wouldn't be kind to you. That wouldn't ultimately be supportive of you, all right? So you're chasing something that is unhealthy, and you want that in your life. That's why you do the work. You get in here and you identify what happened in those early parts of your life that keep driving you down that same road that's turned into a snowball that you can't seem to get a hold of it. You can't stop it. You say to yourself today, these days, as you go, you know, I don't know what it is, but it's like it's got a life of its own. I can't help it. I keep picking the wrong people. I don't know what's wrong with me. All right? That's what it is. We get on that track and we can't see it. Or we wind up with the right person. Here's another one. You let love find you. You pull back and you just tell your universe, you tell your guides, you tell your higher self, okay, that you're just going to not look anymore. You're going to get off those dating sites, or you're going to, stop chasing it on social media. You're going to quit doing all the things that are chasing it. And you might go out to a museum because you like to go to a museum. You might go out dancing because you like to do that. If you happen to meet that person in an environment where you like to go anyway, then the chances are that's exactly what's going to happen. But if you keep going to the places where you're trying to bump into something that looks like something you'd like, somebody who's a guy might say somebody who's beautiful, but he's not beautiful. And oh well, I have a lot of money. I could buy it. I could flash my money and I could get anyone I wanted. Well, maybe for a while you could get somebody who looked good, all right? But it doesn't mean that you're going to keep them or that they're going to make you happy. You've got to let it come to you. That's a hard thing. That's a hard thing because people have no patience. People want what they want. They want it right now. We are living in a world of instant gratification. And this is what drove us to this point. So to be patient and humble and let it come to you and just do the things you love to do. Go to the places you like to go to. And those are the same places that person who's a fit for you will be. Let it show up. Let it come to you. You will attract it. The law of attraction. It will come to you. However, when you attract this, you may not always recognize it. You may still be in your mind playing out those old tapes where you want something, 6'4". You want somebody who makes at least $300,000 a year, somebody who, all these, the relationship list, where you want all these things, and that person isn't all those things. So it's about getting real with ourselves. It's about getting back to what's right in ourselves. And if you let yourself have what that is, it won't be perfect. I'll tell you right now. You are not living in a perfect world. You'll never find a relationship like you have with your guides on this planet. It will not happen. Forget it. It's not going to happen. What you came in with, who you were before you got here, the bliss you came from, and the bliss you go back to, by the way, they're the same place. It's not here. This is the world of dualities and challenges and things that we go through to learn more about who we are. It's a place to smooth off the rough edges, to get down to who we are, to become more than we were before we got here. So you came here to meet up with those lessons and face those challenges. And hopefully you guys, you won't take this so personally, this life, this world. It won't be so real to you that you feel like you're trying to hold on to everything in your path and you can't breathe and you can't let anything come to you because you're blocking it with your rigidity. That's what this is. You have to get more comfortable with yourself. And the way you do it is you quit taking all this so seriously. You quit making this all there is. You quit making this world all there is. And you make this so real that it freezes you up. That's what you've got to relax about.
So the lesson is you have to learn how to want what you can have.
That's right. And I only know this from living it and writing about it, all right? Is I don't necessarily want what I can have. There's a lot of things I can have. I don't really want them. They're all right. I mean, I guess I don't have this great big giant urge to have them, right? Maybe I've had them before, and I've had that. So let's move on. You know, what I want, what I need. Let's change the word from want, because the word need is what you experience, and the word want is your lessons. All right, and I've had a lot of lessons. I think I don't really want all that stuff, but the things I need are the things that they're like an urge inside me, and I need to follow that impulse. I need to experiment with that. I need to go try that out. I need to go see what that is. I need to try it, okay? So that's different than what I might want.
That's exactly how you lived your life when you came in here as a baby. Through experience.
Absolutely.
A baby only knows one thing. Curiosity and experience. Go that way.
That is and knowing and trusting your truth center, what you feel, okay? And all that came from over here. It came from the world you came from. The one you're in challenges that if you're not strong and you don't bring that back and you don't put yourself back together again. Put yourself back together again. That's what this does, all right?
So that's basically, this book is how you lived your life, using your life as an example, how you lived with your guides.
This book will change your life.
Right.
Okay.
And that book does what?
And this book will recover your life. It'll
restore that connection.
It will restore what you left behind. It's like walking around with half of you without bringing this back. This brings it back. All right. In this, what you unfold and what you unearth, your hidden knowledge, is who you really are. It's who you came in as. All right. And who you are in this world is your facade. It's your persona. It's how you present yourself to the world. All right. And you know what? You chose to come here just like I did. So there's going to be that's a consequence of being here. That's just how it is. So don't be angry about it, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Bring yourself back. It's time.
So you didn't come here to have things. You came here to have experiences.
Well, you know what? We came here to experience whatever the urge was, okay? If in my 20s, I loved sports cars, and I had them, all right? So those sports cars, they were expensive. They were expensive to fix. They were, there was a lot that went along with it as a consequence. And now, I don't need those sports cars. I don't want those sports cars. They just take up my time. Now, I've got to insure them. I drive them somewhere, somebody throws or keys the car. I don't even want it, you guys. I'm too busy doing this project and all the things Ray and I do, okay, with coaching and teaching and writing more books and doing everything we do with the project. And I love it. This is my heart's content. This is my urge. This is what drives me now, all right? Ray and I both. So I have everything.
Contentment.
That's
a good word. That's really what you're looking for.
That's what you find. You're not looking for it, Ray.
That's what you find.
Well, it's a byproduct
right.
of being who you are. See, you can't go out and find all these things. What happens is when you're true to yourself and you figure out where you got knocked around and why you found yourself on the wrong path now, and you keep picking the wrong people, and you can't seem to quit that job or walk away from those people, and all the things that got you sucked into it when you were young. All right, you find it, you uncover it, you write it in there, and then we walk you back through how to untangle that life, get yourself back together again, and live the life you intended before you got here, what'll happen from that is all of a sudden you'll have the urge come to you and you'll go, oh my God, I know what I always wanted to do. I know what it is now. You'll remember. Only you have that answer. Those are your answers.
And don't make lists. Don't have a list of things that you want, that you think you need, but are superficial to your life. You know, I have examples in a relationship thing, but it's not a personal relationship. I had a dog. I had a purebred dog. Great dog. Loved that dog. But he got sick and he died. And it's going to get another dog. So I had a list of requirements. You know, purebred, this big, you know. And 2 weeks after the dog died, before I went out to get another dog,
A mutt.
a stray mutt showed up on the front porch. And he was none of the things on the list. He was kind of weird, kind of funny, acted kind of funny, but
He had some quirks.
he had some quirks. He was an odd child like you were when you were little. He was odd.
I don't think I had quirks, but anyway, yes. In other words, it doesn't mean
He was an outcast. Somebody had dumped him off.
Right.
I lived near a big park, big public park, and somebody had dumped him off in the park, and he found his way up to my house a few blocks away.
So the point to this story is
He was the best dog ever.
okay. So you see how Ray wanted another dog, and with his feelings, he may not have asked it with words out to the universe, to his guides, but he said it with his intention, with his heartfelt intention. When he did that, it set out that request, and the universe answered, and there's the dog, and the whole point is Ray didn't miss it. He didn't open the door and go, nope,
Sorry.
you don't look like that dog, and just close that door, right? He let the dog come in, and the dog had some. Here's another thing that's interesting. When you meet the right, let's say a relationship, when you meet up with that relationship, and wow, it's the one, all right. Guess what? The dog needed help. He had some quirks, right?
Right.
They're going to have some quirks, and guess what you're going to find out? You have some quirks. I mean, after we go through enough life, we wind up with some quirks, you guys, that once you meet the right person, the right relationship, you help each other heal that and smooth that out, and you're not quirky anymore, you know? It works out. But if you wound up with the person who from your ego, not from what you need, but from what you thought you wanted, you wind up with that person, that's a bunch of lessons with your heart, you know? I mean, yeah. I mean, that's not good. So while you might think, well, I could have done better, I've seen so much of that where people go, well, you know, I'm still waiting for someone better to come along. I've seen so many people do that, talk like that.
And now they're in their 70s.
And they're still waiting for someone better to come along. You know, that's not, the problem is not with the other person, you know. So get out of your way. Let the magic happen. Let the gift show up in your life. Get out of its way. And that's where the magic is, you guys. That's where everything shows up. And everything around that becomes a byproduct of it. Like Ray said, contentment. Contentment, it just happens. It goes along with it. It's because you weren't chasing something. You let it show up. And when it did show up, you didn't judge it like it's just a mutt. All right?
Just a mutt. Yep, best dog ever. Plus cats showed up at my front door.
Ray,
Not like I need another
like
cat. But then another one showed up, and another one, and another one, and another one.
Ray loves these animals so much, you guys. He's like somebody that has a rope over his back, and he's pulling it, and it's a magnet. All right, and he just pulls it along because he loves these guys so much, these animals, and they just kind of all glob onto this magnet and follow him. I mean, you've done that ever since what?
How many cats have I had? Over 100.
I know, and they were all he rescued
all strays.
Yeah, he rescued them all. So
I got one at the pound. who was a stray that they picked up on the street.
So he gets it anyway.
Yep.
So did you ask me all those questions?
I think I did.
And next Thursday is going to be page 12 in My Guided Journey. Page 12 is compromise. So we go from separation and confusion, all right, and where you really feel sad and alone because this just isn't working out like you thought it was when you were about 7, 8, 9 years old, okay? And then you hit the 12th page, it's compromise, and that's when sad and alone turns into depression. It turns into a very deep sadness. Compromise, it's a hard place to go and accept. It's not why you came here. Any point in your life, when you compromise, that you really have missed it, that you could do better, that this isn't right. It's not right. You feel it. Compromise is giving in. Compromise is caving in. Compromise is yielding to a situation. It's not a compromise. Let's say somebody gets sick in your family and they need care. It's compromise. You've got to compromise other things to take care of that person or to find care for that person. But because it costs money and there's all kinds of compromise that goes into it, that's different. I'm talking about compromise where it goes against your better judgment. It goes against who you are. That kind of compromise is not okay.
That's where you lower your standards.
That's exactly right, Ray. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about next week, and where all of us at some point looked into, if we didn't act on compromise and cave into it, then we may have considered it, or we may have saved it up for later.
Yeah.
And
save all that compromise up. And a lot of people think if you can just lower your standards, you broaden your field. They compromise so much.
Right, that's true, Ray. That's true. That's what has happened, actually, in the world.
Right.
And people aren't happy. No wonder they're not. They're not supposed to be happy. Not if you're compromising.
And what are you compromising? You're compromising your integrity. That's what you're compromising.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Don't forget to download your journal from.
Yeah, the journal, once again, is available on my website, lindadeir.com. On the homepage, you'll see it right over on the right side where it says My Guided Journey free download. And when you go there, there's a little video that's about 3 minutes long that explains what it is and why I wrote it. So, okay, Ray. So, I have written a series of videos in support of the readers of My Guided Journey, the companion journal to my flagship book, Guided. Each week on Facebook Live, I talk about your journey back to the beginning when you first made contact with your spirit guides and angels. They haven't gone anywhere, even when you ignored them or didn't realize they were there. In these Thursday Facebook Live videos with me, you learn how to journal your own hidden knowledge, documenting your life journey, revealing who you are and why you are here. When you follow this, you not only get your life back, but you will never doubt yourself again. See you next week.